6th year of being with James. I said, James, I'm getting married. He jolted, suddenly pulling back from his thoughts, looking troubled. Sophia, you know, the company is at a crucial stage of fundraising. I really don't have the mind right now to. It doesn't matter. I smiled faintly. James misunderstood. I was getting married, but not to him. Chapter 1. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass. I glanced at the direction James had been staring absent-mindedly at just now, the corners of my lips curling into a trace of self-mockery. Once, he used to look at me with that same unwavering gaze. During 4 years of university, he pursued me for 3. I asked him what he liked about me. He grinned like a fool and said he liked that I was beautiful, that no one was as beautiful as me. I didn't like fools, but eventually I was moved by the sincerity inside him. Even so, I didn't give in easily. But James never cared. Rain or shine, he brought breakfast to the dormitory downstairs every day. He calculated my menstrual cycle and started making brown sugar water for me 2 days in advance. If I looked at a necklace twice, he would seize every chance to do part-time jobs, saving money just to buy it for me. When I was upset, he racked his brains to tell jokes and cheer me up. Even if I frowned, he would ask if I wasn't feeling well. But in the end, nothing could compete with childhood sweethearts. 2 months ago, his childhood sweetheart suddenly came to City B to visit him. The first time I met her, I noticed that he had no sense of boundaries when he was with Emma, but thinking she would just play around for a few days and then leave, I didn't take it seriously. Unexpectedly, she became James's personal secretary and stayed in City B. When I asked him about it, James only said that since they were hiring anyway, why let benefits go to outsiders? But from then on, his business trips in overtime became more and more frequent. Nights away from home became common. The other day, when I checked attendance records in the administration department, I learned that the two of them had long been inseparable. They traveled on business as a man and a woman alone, but the reimbursement receipts submitted to finance only showed the cost of one executive suite. As for overtime, that went without saying. As I walked out of James's office, Emma stood up from her desk nearby. She smiled brightly. Sophia, your face doesn't look so good. Did you have a fight with James? I had no intention of arguing with her, so I walked past. Sophia, she called after me. You'll be 30 next year, right? Don't keep acting like a little girl. Blue Sky Investments still hasn't agreed to the funding. James has been really worried. Even if you can't help him much, at least don't distract him at such a critical moment. I frowned slightly, my eyes calm as I glanced at her. Emma, this company was founded by me and James together. If he can let you stay, I can also make you leave. She hadn't expected me to be so tough. She froze, then spoke in a wrong tone. I was just kindly advising you. If you think honest words are unpleasant, then don't listen. But why do you have to drive me away? Who dares to drive you away? James came out, his tone somewhat cold. Sophia, she's just a young girl, unfamiliar with the city. If she says something wrong, can't you be a bit more tolerant? A young girl. I couldn't help but laugh. Emma was only 3 months younger than me. A sharp bitterness surged into my eyes. I took a deep breath. James, I'll give you one chance to choose. She leaves, or I leave. James said. Sophia Jean, stop being unreasonable. I froze, a little dazed. I thought for a long time, but couldn't remember the last time he had called me by my full name. Sophia, maybe you misunderstood my relationship with James. We're just childhood friends who grew up together. Emma's eyes turned red as she looked pitifully at James. James, I heard that Sophia's family is wealthy. She must have been spoiled since childhood. You should give in to her more. Don't fight with her because of me. I've been used to reading people's faces since I was little. If working in another company is better, that's fine. As long as Sophia is happy, I'll pack up my things and leave City B altogether. Emma! James couldn't hide that trace of tenderness in his eyes. I tugged at the corners of my lips and walked straight out. It wasn't until I stepped out of the office building that I realized my vision had blurred at some point. I roughly wiped away the tears, pulled out my phone, and dialed a number. The call was answered quickly. My mother scolded me playfully. Sweetheart, you finally remember you still have a mom? Do you know how many days you haven't called me? A whole 3 days. Mom, I suppressed the choke in my voice. Please tell Grandpa that I'm willing to go through with the arranged marriage. Really? My mother sounded a bit joyful, then realized something was off. Wait, what about that boyfriend you've been with for years? Yes. We did hope you'd find someone from an equal family background. But if it's over, then my mom didn't press further. Think about the marriage arrangement again for a couple of days. Although your grandfather carefully picked out the candidate, our families have been close for generations. And he's now managing one of their family's investment companies. Still, marriage is a big deal. I don't want you to act on impulse. Mom, I'm not acting on impulse. I've already thought it through. Yesterday, when I called my younger brother, he accidentally let slip that our family's capital chain was on the verge of breaking, and marriage was the best solution. For so many years, my family had indulged me. When I graduated from university, my father's intention was for me to return to City A, gain experience for a few years, and then take over the family business. But back then, I was love-struck. For James's sake, I quarreled fiercely with my father and insisted on staying in City B. Just because of one thing my father had said, he's just a poor boy. What can he possibly give you? And so I silently stayed with James, helping him start his business, often drinking with clients until the early hours just to secure a contract. Yet in the end, it didn't earn me James's loyalty. All it earned me was a stomach that needed constant herbal medicine to recover. My mother sighed. So when are you planning to come back to City A? In half a month. After hanging up, I turned back to glance at the towering building, the curve of my lips tinged with bitterness. James, I gave you the chance to choose. You didn't take it. So, I don't want you either. Chapter 2. When I got home, I sat numbly on the sofa for a long time. The first signs of cracks in my relationship with James actually appeared last month. At first, I couldn't understand it. How could feelings change so suddenly? Every time I suspected his relationship with Emma, he would say, "You're overthinking. I only see her as a sister. That's why I take extra care of her." At the beginning, I really believed him, because his devotion to me couldn't have been faked, and I had unwavering faith in his love, until one time at a friend's gathering. He drank too much. When I went to pick him up, I accidentally learned the truth from one of his equally drunk buddies. James and Emma, they grew up together. Before he pursued you, he even confessed to her once. She didn't accept him. Childhood ties like that, how can anyone just let them go? He chased you only because your smile reminded him of Emma's. But don't worry, all of us brothers have been telling him to treat you well. As for Emma, that girl probably turned him down back then because he was poor. Now that his career has taken off, she's come back for him. Beep beep beep. It wasn't until the health pot finished boiling the herbal medicine, its prompt ringing, that I came back to my senses. I drank a bowl of dark brown medicine. The bitterness pierced straight to my heart. Looking around at the home I had so carefully decorated, I drew a hard slash across the calendar. Only 14 days left. Then I began cleaning bit by bit. City B and City A were far apart, north and south. I could only bring limited luggage with me. The rest, I threw it all away. I didn't like others handling my belongings, especially not James's next girlfriend. After a couple of trips downstairs tossing things out, I was exhausted. The rest, I would clear out slowly. After a shower, I scrolled through my phone and saw Emma's WeChat post. By day he's a domineering CEO. By night he waits in line to buy me cake. He said he wants to make up for all the time he's missed over the years. So happy. Attached was a photo of a strawberry cake. On the hand holding the cake, she wore a loose men's watch that didn't belong to her. It was the matching pair to the women's watch on my own wrist. Back then, James and I had pulled several all-nighters together to successfully complete the company's first major project. That was also the project that made our reputation, even though we had barely slept a few hours in total that week. He was exhilarated, dragging me to the mall to buy the couple's watches I had secretly saved pictures of. I told him not to, it was too expensive. But he insisted, put the watch on me, held me tightly, and said with absolute seriousness, "Sophia, everything you like, I must give to you myself." That men's watch, except for bathing and sleeping, he never took it off. His last assistant was even fired for accidentally getting the watch wet. Everyone knew James loved me. Now, Thinking back, it was all a joke. No one knew that when his eyes lingered on me with such affection, the one in his heart was someone else. Exhaling heavily, I unclasped my watch, casually snapped a few photos, and listed it for sale online. James didn't come home that night either. The next day, I slept until noon before waking up to go handle my resignation at the company. In the past 2 years, after the company was on track, I was only in charge of design, but on the way from the design department to HR, quite a few people congratulated me. I was puzzled. Then Roxana, head of HR and one of the company's earliest members, dragged me straight into her office. Be honest. You and James are finally tying the knot, aren't you? What? I was stunned. She had no reservations when speaking to me. Come on. At this point, why hide it from me? The way James is going all out, everyone knows he's about to propose to you. I frowned. What? Where did that come from? She covered her mouth in surprise. You really don't know? Could it be that James wanted to surprise you? Explain it clearly. Well, just. She hesitated, then decided to side with me and reveal the secret. Someone just saw a flower shop delivering flowers to James downstairs. The entire trunk was full, pink roses. Today isn't your birthday or any anniversary. If it's not a proposal, then what could it be? Pink roses. I remembered, 2 months ago, the day Emma came to City B. James bought her pink roses when he went to pick her up. My fingertips traced silently across my palm. I pressed my lips together, saying nothing. Roxana glanced at the papers in my hand. What's this? I'm here to resign. I knew it! Her eyes lit up with realization. It's because of the proposal, right? You're preparing to step back. Be a devoted wife and mother. All right. Let me sign this for you. Okay. I didn't explain, just handed her the documents. As she signed, she complained. James is something else. He didn't even tell me in advance. Now where am I supposed to find another design director like you on such short notice? All you need is James's signature and it'll be done. After signing, she handed the papers back with genuine sincerity. Sophia, I don't know if stepping back into family life is right or wrong, but as your friend for so many years, I wish you happiness. I hope James won't let you down. All right. I will definitely be happy. Just not with James. Chapter 3. Just before stepping into James's office, I hesitated for a moment, not because I was indecisive, but because I hadn't yet figured out how to get him to sign cleanly. After the company standardized its HR processes, even I had signed a labor contract, and given how sensitive the position of design director was, plus the fact that my family's business overlapped with this industry, if the resignation documents weren't handled properly, there would be trouble once I returned to City A. I pushed the door open before the words I'd prepared could leave my mouth. I saw Emma sitting across from James, so that's why her desk outside was empty. She had already moved in here. Emma noticed me first. She playfully patted James on the head and said sweetly, James. James's voice was indulgent. All right. Stop fooling around. Let me finish this contract first. I wasn't fooling around. Emma shot me a provocative glance before obediently reminding him. Sophia's here. James leaned back abruptly, putting distance between them, and looked up at me in panic. Our eyes met, ignoring the tightness in my chest. I said evenly, James, there's a document I need your signature on. I handed over the folder, seeing that I didn't pursue their ambiguous behavior. He let out a small sigh of relief and nodded. All right, James, you two go ahead. I'll step out. Emma volunteered to leave. Just as James opened the folder and I was about to give the reason I'd prepared, Emma suddenly twisted her ankle and cried out, "Aw, it hurts. Emma!" James completely forgot about work. He shot to his feet and was about to rush over. I blocked him. Sign first. It won't take you more than a few seconds. He frowned. Sophia, when did you become so cold-blooded? Is this file really that important? James. Emma crouched on the ground, clutching her foot and sobbing. James's eyes were full of her. He had no intention of arguing with me further. Without even glancing at what the document was, he scribbled his name where I pointed. Exactly what I wanted. All I needed was to finalize my resignation, and then leave this city, return to the path my life was meant to follow. James carried Emma to the sofa, holding her foot carefully as he examined it. It's fine. No swelling. But if it hurts badly, I'll still take you to the hospital. It's not that serious. Emma blushed, pulling her foot back, sneaking a timid glance at me, expressionless. I walked away. Before I could get in my car, James chased after me, blocking my way. Sophia, don't misunderstand. There's nothing between me and her. I only look after her because of the bond of growing up together. I nodded lightly, glancing at his hand gripping the car door, signaling him to let go. I have things to do. For a moment, he froze. You're not angry? I smiled. Should I be angry? In the past, if I did this, you'd definitely be mad. But you still did it, didn't you? I looked up, catching the panic laid bare in his eyes. All right. I'm joking. Come home for dinner tonight? He suppressed his guilt and took my hand. I have a business dinner tonight, but I'll definitely come home. I wanted to laugh, but the smile wouldn't come. Why did it feel like even him coming home had become some sort of charity? I ate out before returning home and continued clearing things out. It was then I realized, when disappointment runs deep enough, you don't even want to leave behind a trace of longing. I carefully erased every mark of my existence from this home. I even touched James's room, but only to throw out the couple's items I had bought. Toothbrushes, cups, slippers, loungewear. I wasn't done yet. During a short break, I received a WeChat message from Emma. Sophia, look. After all these years, James still remembers my favorite flowers are pink roses. He's even more attentive than before. Thank you for training such a good man for me. The shade is always cooler under a tree planted by someone else. Attached was a photo, the Porsche I had picked out, its trunk overflowing with fresh flowers, decorated with glowing lights. In that instant, I knew with absolute clarity, all the sincerity I thought I had owned all these years. It had always belonged to someone else. Chapter 4. James broke his promise. He didn't come home. For several days in a row, he never once returned. It was only when I spoke with Roxana on the phone that I learned James had gone on another business trip. Once again, with Emma, but that gave me more time to pack. On the calendar, only 7 days remained. That day, while I was packing the luggage I'd take to City A, Roxana suddenly called. Sophia, did you put down the wrong shipping address? What? The wedding dress for you and James. It was delivered to the company, with you listed as the recipient. Your James really went all out and custom couture. It must have cost at least 7 figures. He used up all his savings. How are you two going to live after marriage? I rushed to the company, opened it, and was stunned. The measurements were indeed mine. But it didn't seem like James's doing. These past years, the company's profits had been good, but not to the point of splurging so much money on a wedding dress. Besides, he most likely had never even thought of marrying me. Just as I was puzzled, my mother called. Sweetheart, did you get the wedding dress? Oh, the Chan family is so invested in your marriage with Gabriel Chan. I told them you'd return in half a month, and they immediately started preparing the wedding in a rush. They even sent the dress ahead, wanting you to see if you liked it, if it fit. On the phone, my mom was full of joy, clearly pleased by how seriously the Chan family valued me. I rubbed my forehead. Mom, did you give them this address? Yes. Unless you changed companies? No. I sighed. I'll send you a new address. From now on, have them send everything there. All right. All right. She readily agreed, cheerful. Oh, by the way, your Aunt Chan asked me to check if you have any requests for the wedding. She'll handle the arrangements. I don't have any requests. I pressed my lips together. You all just arrange it as you see fit. Wedding? Behind me, James's voice suddenly sounded. What wedding? My heart skipped. I hung up. You're back from your trip? He avoided my eyes guiltily. His glance swept to the wedding dress on the sofa. His brows furrowed. Sophia, I told you, right now, with everything going on, I can't think about marriage. Can you stop pressuring me? I stared at him steadily. Did I ever say you were the groom? What do you mean? Nothing. I shrugged, went over, and began packing the dress to take away. James grabbed my arm, softening his tone. Are you mad? All right. I'm sorry. I've just been exhausted from this business trip. Forgive me, okay? I nodded without hesitation. He looked uncertain. Really? Really? Then keep the dress, all right? James hesitated. Sophia, just give me more time. I promise I'll marry you. As if terrified I'd force him into it. I couldn't help but laugh. What are you thinking? You heard me on the phone. It's for my college roommate's wedding. She just filled in the wrong address. He exhaled in relief, pinching my cheek. So you were scaring me on purpose? Think whatever you want. He knew my 3 college roommates. If he still cared about me even a little, he'd remember they were all long married. At each wedding, he had accompanied me. Back then, he would endlessly plan our own future, touched every time we attended someone else's ceremony. We had agreed, once the company stabilized, we would marry, but 3 years had passed. He never brought it up. For a while, I even suspected he had a fear of marriage. Now I understood. It wasn't that he didn't want to marry. It was just that the person he wanted to marry wasn't me. Roxana knocked and walked in, looking like she'd had enough of witnessing affection. Sorry to interrupt, but President James, we'll need you at the interview for the new design director later. Design director? James looked confused, turning to me. Is your workload too much? Do you need to hire someone to help you? No. I shook my head. James, I've resigned. His brows furrowed deeply. You resigned? Without even discussing it with me? Sophia, this is a crucial time for the company's fundraising. The design department is the core of the company. Do you know how much impact replacing the director could have on the investors? I suddenly felt like I had never really known him. Lifting my gaze, I asked calmly, then what do you want? Without my signature, your resignation isn't finalized. James sighed. You're not a little girl anymore. Stop doing such childish things. Come back to work tomorrow. James, I smiled lightly. You already signed it. If you don't believe me, Roxana has a copy. Go see for yourself. With that, I picked up the wedding dress and left. Chapter 5. Sophia, no matter how desperate you are to marry, you can't force James into it. Do you think buying a wedding dress will make him marry you? He promised long ago that he'd only marry me. Stop dreaming. On the road, I read Emma's WeChat messages. Feeling weary, I drove around City B aimlessly until midnight, letting the late autumn night wind seep into my bones, before finally returning home. Unexpectedly, when I opened the door, the lights were on. James sat on the sofa. He stood up and walked toward me. Why are you back so late? Went for a drive. I was leaving soon. I just wanted to look once more at this city I had lived in for so many years. He nodded, trying to pull me into his arms. I instinctively stepped back. His brows furrowed lightly. Still angry? I was harsh earlier. If you don't want to work, then don't, all right? As long as you're happy, nothing else matters. Hearing that, sarcasm flickered in my eyes, but I didn't want to cause more drama. Your birthday's coming up in a few days. How do you plan to spend it? I'd noticed earlier on the calendar that the day I planned to leave just happened to be his birthday. Also our anniversary. Of course I'll spend it at home with you. Just the 2 of us. James carefully reached out. When I didn't refuse this time, he seemed to finally relax, pulling me into an embrace. His muffled voice said, Sophia, I feel like you've changed somehow. Lately, you're imagining things. I slowly stepped out of his arms. I'm cold. I'll go take a shower. If this were before, he would have noticed immediately that I was chilled to the bone. Now, I didn't even know which one of us had changed. Oh right. Where are my toothbrush and cup? Behind me, James suddenly asked. I lowered my gaze. In this house, it wasn't just those 2 things that were missing, but since his heart wasn't here anymore, it was natural he wouldn't notice. I casually explained. Hygiene items should be replaced regularly. There are new ones in the bathroom cabinet. I went to my own room to shower. My phone buzzed endlessly on the bed. When I came out, it was more messages from Emma. She had already sent taunting ones earlier that evening. I hadn't replied, but clearly, she wasn't about to stop. Now, one after another, She sent chat screenshots between her and James, and not from the past 2 months, from a year ago, from 2 years ago. Most of them were James pouring his heart out one-sidedly. Emma, I followed your advice and started dating. She's great, her smile is just like yours. Emma, every time I'm with her, it feels like we're back to when we were inseparable. Emma, how have you been lately? I dreamed about you last night. I miss you. Emma, I might get married soon. I can't betray her. She's gone through so much with me these years. My success, the car and house I bought in City B, all thanks to her. After that message, Emma suddenly started replying. When she learned he had bought 2 apartments downtown, one of them a luxury penthouse still being renovated, they fell into instant infatuation, sharing daily life non-stop. When I made porridge for him after a night of heavy drinking, he took a photo to send to Emma. I had porridge this morning. What about you? When the lemon tree I planted bore fruit, he immediately shared it with Emma. Look, impressive, right? Once they grow bigger, I'll bring the biggest one to the office and make tea for you. My hand holding the phone trembled uncontrollably. Knowing he had used me as a stand-in was one thing. Actually seeing the conversations with my own eyes was another entirely. Even after a hot shower, I was still frozen to the bone. I couldn't help but laugh, laughing until my eyes reddened. Not because of betrayal, but because I, Sophia, had truly been nothing more than a substitute all these years. All the sweet moments I thought we had, he had been sharing them with another woman. I forced back tears and typed, if you miss your mom, look at a movie. If you miss your dad, look at the sky. She replied instantly, Sophia, don't be shameless. Even if you don't leave, James will only marry me. I know you're reluctant to let go now that the company's about to go public, but for the sake of you helping him start out, if you're sensible, I'll make him give you $100,000 as breakup money. After all, without James, you'll never find someone this rich again. $100,000. I wondered if it was even enough to cover a single banquet table at the Chan family wedding. Just as I finished reading, my bedroom door was suddenly pushed open. Sophia, why did you list the watch I gave you for sale online? Chapter 6. James came in holding his phone, questioning me. I glanced at it. It really was the listing I had posted. The price had been set very low, and it sold the same day I put it up. I gave a small laugh and lied casually. It wasn't mine. Didn't Roxana and her husband buy a pair too? She wants to replace hers, so she asked me to help list it secondhand. Really? He half believed, his eyes softening with tenderness. Sophia, I've been too busy lately. Maybe I haven't been paying enough attention to your feelings. If anything ever makes you unhappy, you must tell me right away, okay? I lowered my gaze. All right. After my mom passed away last year, you're all I have left. James held me like I was a treasure. His voice part promise, part guilt. Believe me, no matter what happens, you're the most important person to me. I did believe, James, once. I believed with all my heart. Smelling the faint rose scent on him, I murmured, it's late. Go shower and rest. Let me hold you a little longer. He refused to let go, rubbing his chin against my hair. Sophia, are you hiding something from me? Once I get through these busy days, let's have a proper talk. I gave a small laugh, busy waiting in line to buy Emma cakes, or preparing a car full of roses as a surprise. Keeping it from me while still keeping Emma happy, that was busy indeed. He lowered his head, studying me. Why are your eyes red? Have you been crying? Just as I was about to answer, his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the caller ID, immediately released me, and walked out while answering. Whatever was said on the other end made his face change drastically. Despite the chill of late autumn, he rushed out in only a thin shirt, not even taking a coat. Out of habit built over years, I almost called after him, James, but he didn't seem to hear. The last time I'd seen him this panicked was when the hospital issued his mother's critical condition notice. I went to the window, watching the black Porsche disappear into the night. In my ears, his words still echoed, Sophia, you're the most important person to me. But I wasn't anymore. The following days, I kept busy. I was leaving. I had to see all the friends I needed to see. That night, I picked up a marker, hesitated, then drew another slash on the calendar. Tomorrow was James's birthday, also my last day in the city. After ordering a birthday cake for James, I cut up all the framed photos on the wall and threw them into the trash. This home was now completely emptied of everything connected to me, perhaps because I hadn't been taking my medicine these days. I woke up the next morning with stabbing stomach pain. Back when we first started the company, it had only been James and me. We ate and slept at the office when things got busy. To prove to my father that James was worthy, I hadn't taken a single cent from home since graduation. When funds ran short, we'd split a pack of instant noodles between us. At night, there were drinking banquets with clients. James couldn't hold his liquor, so most of the alcohol ended up in my stomach. Once, I drank so much that I got a gastric perforation. The doctor scolded him harshly. He sat by my hospital bed, a 6-foot-tall man, with eyes red as fire. He said, being with him had wronged me. He said, as James, he would never let Sophia down in this lifetime. Now I finally understood. Promises, sometimes they aren't even true the moment they're spoken. Clutching my stomach, I got out of bed. After a piece of toast, I swallowed some medicine, but the effect didn't come quickly. The pain grew worse. I curled on the sofa, drenched in cold sweat. I pulled out my phone and called James. No answer. It seemed James really was busy. Too busy to even answer a call from his girlfriend. It wasn't until Roxana called me that I learned what he had been busy with these past days. Busy enough not to come to the office. A pile of documents, half-completed projects, all waiting for his signature. Roxana was frantic. Sophia, has he lost his head over this romance? And you too? You both can't just neglect the company because of some wedding plans. Please talk to him. Get him back here quickly. And I just heard that Blue Sky Investments Mr. Chan is holding a wedding next week. James had better find a way to get an invitation. Show his face in City A. Leave a good impression. As long as Gabriel Chan nods, our IPO will be absolutely guaranteed. Wait. I had been half distracted from the stomach pain, but hearing that last part made me jolt. What did you say his name was? Gabriel. Chapter 7. Roxana sighed. He's really a young master born with a golden spoon. Our IPO depends on Blue Sky's nod. But I heard Blue Sky Investments is just something the Chan family tossed him as practice. City A. The Chan family. Gabriel. The investment company. It all lined up. Roxana noticed my silence. Sophia, are you listening? Yes, I am. I pressed my lips together. I'll pass everything you said on to James. Relieved. Roxana added. Good. Oh, and have you set your wedding date? I want a paper invitation. Don't you dare send me an electronic one. I smiled faintly. It's next week too. As for the invitation, don't worry. A family like the Chans. Of course. All invitations would be on paper. A few days ago, when my mom called to ask which friends to invite, I had already mentioned Roxana's name. The rest, the Chans would handle. After hanging up, I endured the pain and sent James a message. No response. So I called him. I thought he wouldn't answer. But unexpectedly, he did. His voice was cold. Why do you keep calling me? What's the matter? So, he had seen my earlier call. I rubbed my stomach. What are you busy with? Roxana said you haven't been to the company these past few days. He let out a mocking laugh. You really don't know what I've been busy with? How would I know? At that, he gave a short, bitter chuckle, then lowered his voice. Angry. Why did you have someone splash paint on Emma's door? Don't you know she scares easily? Sophia, when did you become so vicious? Vicious. Pain tore at me. I couldn't tell if it was from my stomach twisting or my chest tightening. Emma told you I did it? And you believed her? She's never lied since she was a child. His tone was righteous. Handle things at the company for me. She's too frightened to be left alone. I sipped some warm water. My stomach hurts. I can't go. James knew well about my lingering illness these past years. When he was home, he used to watch over me, making sure I ate 3 meals a day, took my medicine on time. At some point, he stopped even coming home. Sophia. His voice now carried impatience, as though he could no longer bear it. You've had stomach problems for years. Can't you endure it? If Emma didn't need me, I wouldn't be asking you. Forget it. I'll figure it out myself. He said that. About to hang up, I stopped him. Are you coming home tonight? Sophia. Must you throw a tantrum at the very moment Emma needs me most? I froze. I thought I wouldn't care anymore, but hearing that still felt like something sharp had stabbed straight into my lungs. Even breathing hurt. Today is your birthday and our 6th anniversary. I rubbed my stomach lightly. James, you said yourself we'd celebrate every anniversary together. Breaking up. It still needed to be said face to face. Otherwise, it would make all our past moments feel worthless. James hesitated, guilt in his voice. I almost forgot. Sophia, I'll come back right away, and I'll bring you your favorite pastries. He had barely finished when Emma's startled cry sounded from his side. James, flustered, didn't even hang up before coaxing her in a low voice. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Be good. I won't leave. I hung up, looked around at the already empty home, and laughed suddenly. The clock hands turned round and round. The night sank heavy like a black curtain. Apart from a delivery man knocking at the door, there was no other sound. James wasn't coming back. At 3 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A message from James. Sophia, Emma keeps having nightmares. Don't worry, I'll definitely come back before dawn. Wait for me. Lowering my eyes, I sat still for a moment. Then one by one, dumped the takeout and birthday cake from the table into the trash. I showered, then sent James a final message. Blocked, deleted, done. Finally, I pushed out 2 suitcases I had packed long ago, hailed a cab, and left without looking back for the airport. James, this time, I won't wait for you. My things, along with myself, will leave this city completely. Today, a city that never belonged to me. Chapter 8. When James received the message, he had just coaxed his little childhood sweetheart to sleep. The sky outside was already lightening with the pale glow of dawn. At the first sound of a notification on his phone, his instinct was to frown, worried it might wake Emma. But when he saw the contact name, he carefully picked it up. James, let's break up. James's frown deepened. He lifted his hand, wanting to pinch the bridge of his nose. But Emma clutched him tightly even in her sleep, still murmuring, James. The impatience on his face softened into indulgence. He patiently patted the back of her hand and whispered, It's okay. I'm just going to the living room to take a work call. Sleep well. Once Emma settled again, he gently slipped his hand free. He walked to the balcony and immediately placed a voice call, but not even a ringtone sounded. The screen popped up a simple, brutal message. The other party is not your friend. Voice call unavailable. His heart sank heavily. A wave of panic spread violently through his chest. It felt like he was about to lose something vitally important to him. Without pausing to think, he rushed out in a frenzy. James! Just as he reached the entryway, Emma's weak voice called him back. Turning, he saw her pale face watching him. Where are you going? Are you going to leave me too? James and Emma truly were childhood sweethearts. They had lived across the hall from each other since they were small. In elementary school, they walked hand in hand, but Emma's birth father had died early. Her stepfather drank, gambled, womanized, a thoroughly rotten man. Back in middle school, Emma had almost been molested by him. It was James, living nearby, who heard her desperate cries, kicked the door open, and saved her. From then on, Emma had relied on him completely. Just like now, James's heart softened. The urgency he had just felt began to fade. No longer so consuming. He gave a little smile. Of course not. Why did you get up? Couldn't you sleep longer? I don't sleep well without you here. Emma bit her lip, looking at him cautiously. You don't look good. Did something happen? Was it because Sophia is upset about you taking care of me? No such thing. I overheard you two arguing on the phone last night. James, don't let me affect your relationship with her. Emma lowered her eyes. Maybe you should go. I can handle myself. Once I'm feeling better in a couple of days, I'll resign from the company. She had always been like this. Careful, considerate. James felt a sudden stab of irritation, but toward Sophia. Maybe women raised in comfort were simply prone to jealousy, incapable of being understanding. He ruffled Emma's hair gently. Don't overthink. Let her throw her tantrum. She means no real harm. I'll go coax her and it'll be fine. James. Emma looked up at him, hesitant, before asking softly, does Sophia often lose her temper with you like this? Not really. James answered truthfully. This time she's talking about breaking up, probably because I haven't been taking care of her feelings lately. Emma sighed helplessly. Let me say something I probably shouldn't. You really shouldn't spoil her like that. When two people are together, it's about mutual understanding. You're already so busy with work. Even if she can't help you, she shouldn't be adding to your troubles at such a critical time. If I had known, Emma's cheeks flushed pink. Back then, when you confessed to me, I should have said yes. If you were my boyfriend, I would definitely be the most obedient, most considerate girlfriend in the world. Hearing this, James went a little dazed. In the 2 months since Emma had come to City B, he had thought the same, had wavered. But he knew, those thoughts could never see the light of day. He might stray in his heart, but his girlfriend and future wife could only be Sophia. Sophia couldn't live without him, and he couldn't live without Sophia, whether in private life or in business. The company's long-term stable partnerships were all secured during Sophia's early days of entrepreneurship. Her body pushed past its limits, drinking at banquets for the sake of contracts. Those clients recognized her personally, even if she resigned. As long as she remained the boss's wife, those partnerships would hold. Seeing his lack of response, Emma bit her lip in secret and asked softly, James? What are you thinking? Nothing. James abruptly pulled himself back. Just thinking about how I'll coax Sophia later. Emma's palm was nearly bleeding from how hard she dug her nails in, but on her face, she wore only obedience and gentleness. That depends on you. I read online that relationships are also about strategy. If you want her to dominate you in everything, controlling you everywhere, then go back and bow your head. But if you want to be the one in charge at home, then maybe let her stew this time. In the end, you're about to be the boss of a publicly listed company. If word got out you were a henpecked husband, people would laugh at you. If Sophia can't even give you that bit of dignity, then, her voice faltered, timid. James frowned. Then what? As if summoning courage to defend him, Emma huffed. Then she doesn't deserve your love. She added in a softer murmur. If Auntie could see from the afterlife, she wouldn't want you to be humiliated like this either. James listened and found it reasonable, but thinking of Sophia's temper, he hesitated. Sophia's only reason for being with me is that I treat her well. If I leave her hanging like this, won't she really break up with me? Impossible. Emma's voice was firm. Do you think she loves you? If she does, then she wouldn't be able to bear breaking up. And of course she did love him. Thinking of that, James felt reassured. He'd let her stew first. If that didn't work, coaxing her later would still be fine. Sophia had always been easy to coax. Chapter 9. I hadn't expected that when my plane landed in City A, the one waiting for me wouldn't be anyone else, but Gabriel, the man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. A towering figure in the finance world, interviewed countless times, with striking looks that made his face unforgettable. Dressed in a black cashmere coat, he stood by the car tall and straight, his aura calm yet carrying an undercurrent of sharpness, the air of someone born to be in charge. Before I could react, he was already striding toward me, taking the suitcase from my hand. His voice was low and steady. So little luggage? Yes. The cold wind stung my skin. I sniffed and explained instinctively. Most things weren't necessary, so I didn't bother bringing them back. People, or things, sometimes, both needed to be cut off in time. Gabriel nodded slightly, handed the suitcase to the driver, and opened the back door for me. Come, I'll take you home first. All right. Thank you. I bent down to get in. The warmth inside the car gradually eased the chill from my body, catching him in my peripheral vision. For no reason at all, my heart began to settle, and once I relaxed, drowsiness swept over me. Why did you suddenly decide to return to City A? Half asleep, I heard his unexpected question, too tired to keep my eyes open. I mumbled, just felt like coming back. A faint laugh lingered in the air, part mockery, part amusement. Impossible to tell which was stronger. As my mind drifted, the name Gabriel kept echoing in my thoughts. The more I thought of it, the more familiar it felt, like I had heard it somewhere before. When I woke again, my head was resting on Gabriel's shoulder. His black coat bore faint traces of dampness. I jerked awake, embarrassed, glancing at him. Sorry. He didn't mind at all. His dark eyes swept over me, calm as ever. We're here. Aw, so soon. I looked out the window to find we had already stopped at the Jean family estate. Gabriel tapped lightly on the glass. The driver understood at once, climbed back in, and drove into the courtyard. Hearing the commotion, my mother hurried out. The moment she saw me, her face lit with joy. Gabriel said he happened to have business near the airport today and could pick you up. So I stayed home instead of being a third wheel. Mom, I touched my nose. Let's go inside. It's cold. Of course. Of course. My mother turned to Gabriel. Gabriel, come inside and have some tea. Your uncle just brought back some Jean May yesterday. Gabriel was measured. Auntie, I still have things to do. I won't intrude today. You and Sophia should talk. Hearing him say Sophia felt oddly natural, as though he was always meant to call me that. My mom didn't insist, only pressed some tea leaves into his hands, telling him to take them to his father. He accepted without fuss. After he left, my mom gave me a look. Where on earth did you two go? Didn't you say you landed at 9:30? Why are you only getting home now? I couldn't blame her suspicion. The airport was only 40 minutes from home, but now it was already 1 in the afternoon. Gabriel, he had waited outside the terminal for 2 hours. Yet when I woke, he hadn't said a word. I suddenly thought of James. If he had done something for me, he would have been desperate for me to know. Sophia, your favorite pastries. I took 2 buses to buy them. Quick, try them. Sophia, I was afraid to wake you, so I waited downstairs half an hour. Luckily breakfast isn't cold yet. But even those good things were given to me, as someone else's stand-in. At that thought, I let out a bitter laugh. My mom pressed a cup of hot tea into my hand. What are you laughing about? Silly girl? Answer my question. We got here earlier. I admitted, but I fell asleep in the car, and Gabriel didn't wake me. At that, my mom looked surprised. That man takes after his father, seems rigid and proper. But who would have thought he could be so considerate? After her sigh, she went to cook 3 dishes and a soup herself, all my favorites. When I'd nearly finished, she finally spoke in a serious tone. So, what happened with that boy in City B? Your father wanted to be here when you got back. But I thought with him around, you might not talk openly. So I sent him to the office. Now it's just us. You need to tell me honestly, did that boy do something to betray you? Originally, I hadn't felt too bad. It wasn't unbearable. Nothing like the TV dramas say, no soul-crushing pain. At most, it was like giving your heart to a dog, and realizing the dog could never be tamed. But it was fine, without anyone. The earth still spun, yet at my mother's words, my vision suddenly blurred. I lowered my head over my food. No, Sophia, I'm your mother. She poured me a hot drink. You came from my womb. Do you think I can't tell when something's wrong? I sighed helplessly. We just broke up. He got involved with someone else. Chapter 10. Never before had I felt my mother's words cut so sharply. I froze. Why do you say that? You've always been the type to go all the way down one path. If he hadn't cheated, would you have turned back now? My eyes stung, but at her blunt remark I almost laughed through the tears. So you always thought I chose the wrong road? Huh? Not really. My mom placed a sweet and sour rib into my bowl. Life doesn't have a standard answer. A road that looks wrong today might end up serving its purpose tomorrow. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. This family will always be your backing. At that, my tears could no longer be held back, spilling down my cheeks. My mom hugged me gently, soothing me. There, don't feel wronged. Your dad already said, since that boy betrayed you, his company won't be allowed to go on either. My sobs halted instantly. I asked in a daze, what do you mean? We asked around. That boy James is preparing for an IPO. My mom's tone carried weight. At such a critical moment, it's easiest to lose everything. With his character, his company doesn't deserve to go public. Mom, You can't do that, Sophia. Even now you're soft-hearted toward him? No, it's not that. I broke down. I'm one of the co-founders. I still hold shares in that company. If it went public smoothly, selling my shares would at least give me closure. After much pleading, my mom finally relented. Then she shifted topics. Rest for the next 2 days. The day after, you'll be busy. Busy with what? Your wedding with Gabriel. Of course. She pinched my cheek. Even though the wedding's next week, you're the bride. There are still plenty of things you'll need to confirm. Oh, and the invitations are already sent out. Make sure your friends received theirs. All right. I nodded. Having barely slept all night, those 2 hours I'd napped in the car weren't nearly enough. After a full meal, I went upstairs to my room to finally catch up on sleep. Back in the bedroom I'd grown up in, my nerves completely loosened. After a shower, I collapsed into bed, ready to sleep deeply, when my phone suddenly rang. It was Roxana. The moment I answered, she exclaimed, "Sophia, where did you get your invitations printed? The packaging looks so luxurious, it must have cost a fortune. But why on earth is the groom's name wrong?" Lying on my stomach, I shifted into a comfortable position, gazing at the winter sunlight outside. The groom's name is Gabriel, right? Yes. Roxana let out a sigh of relief. So James must have gotten mixed up, thinking too much about Gabriel's wedding invitations, and accidentally gave the wedding planner the wrong name? No. I squinted against the sunlight. It really is Gabriel. She froze. What do you mean? My wedding next week. The groom is Gabriel. As soon as the words left my mouth, I instinctively pulled the phone away from my ear. But Roxana's shocked voice still rang loud and clear. What did you say, Sophia? I didn't hear wrong, did I? Wait, what's going on? Weren't you and James about to get married? She trailed off, her voice weakening. Even as an outsider, she had probably already seen it. James didn't really want to marry me. I walked barefoot to the window and pulled the curtain shut. No, you didn't hear wrong. James and I broke up. I've already left City B and come back to City A. The one Gabriel is going to marry is me. On the other end of the line, silence lingered for a long time. Finally, Roxana spoke hesitantly. This Gabriel is the same Gabriel we talked about before. It's the same one. I cut her off before she could finish. All I could say was, the world really isn't that big. Almost small. In fact, Roxana couldn't help but ask. And you and James just ended it that cleanly? Ended. He had probably been waiting a long time, waiting for me to finally be the one to say the words. Now, he must be relieved, free at last to be with his childhood sweetheart, without guilt. Roxana sighed. Hey, after all those years with James, do you regret it? I used to. Not anymore. No one wants to be someone's stand-in. But after hearing what my mom said over dinner, I suddenly understood. For some reason, the image of Gabriel at the airport this morning flashed in my mind. That faint ripple in my heart was soothed away. I smiled. Besides, this time, the road I'm on won't lead me astray. Whether for the sake of family alliance, or the ties between our families. Both he and I knew what this marriage meant. Neither of us would cross the line. Neither of us dared to. Roxana finally let out a breath. Sophia, no matter what choice you make, I just hope you'll be happy. I will. Something suddenly occurred to me. By the way, these past few days I didn't see James at all, and today I left in such a rush. There's one thing I need to trouble you with. What is it? Just say the word. Roxana agreed without hesitation. As long as it's something I can do, I'll help you no matter what. I once gave James a jade pendant. Could you find a chance to get it back from him for me? In truth, I had only remembered the pendant after coming home. It was a Jean family tradition. At the coming-of-age ceremony at 18, the elders gave out 2 jade pendants that fit together as one. One to keep for yourself, the other meant to be given someday to the person you'd spend your life with. I once foolishly believed James and I would be together forever. But now, leaving it with him no longer felt right. Roxana understood at once and promised without hesitation. No problem. Leave it to me. Next week when I come to your wedding, I'll bring it along. Chapter 11. The next day happened to be the weekend. As soon as Roxana got up, she called James. James, already worn down by her pushing him about work these past few days, sounded irritated. It's the weekend, even if there are documents to sign. Can't it wait until Monday? Roxana went straight to the point. Where are you? There was silence on the other end. Roxana couldn't hold back. Still taking care of Emma? After all these years with Sophia, does it really mean nothing to you? Roxana, you're usually a mature person. Why are you being as unreasonable as Sophia now? James said flatly. My relationship with her is fine. You don't need to worry. At that, Roxana let out a laugh. Fine? Are you sure? Do you even know where she is right now? Her voice carried anger. Standing up for Sophia. Everyone knew how much hardship Sophia had endured beside him all these years. Now that his career was finally on the rise, James had chosen to be ungrateful. James bristled. So she told you about our fight? Fight? Roxana was stunned. She had already left the city, thousands of miles away, preparing to marry someone else, and James still thought of it as just a fight, content to stay by his little childhood sweetheart's side. James chuckled. What else could it be? You think she actually wants to break up with me? Roxana wanted to curse idiot right to his face, but she swallowed it down and said instead, I'll be downstairs at Emma's place in half an hour. Come down. And she hung up without another word. James stared at the black screen of his phone, bewildered. He assumed it must be something urgent at work. Half an hour later, after settling Emma, he went downstairs right on time. A red sedan sped up and stopped in front of him. Roxana got out, holding out her hand. The jade pendant Sophia gave you. Hand it over. James didn't move. What for? Sophia told me it was something her family instructed her to give to her future partner. Roxana repeated word for word. Now that you two have broken up, it's not appropriate for you to keep it. James felt a heaviness in his chest. Broke up? I never agreed to it. What kind of breakup is that? James, for the sake of all these years of friendship, I won't curse you out. Roxana met his eyes. But let me give you some advice. Be decent. You're the one who did the disgusting thing, so let her go cleanly. Disgusting? What else? Roxana snapped, fury breaking through. You think just because you call it childhood sweethearts, your mess with Emma is pure and innocent? Everyone in the company can see what's going on between you two, alone together on business trips. And the reimbursement only showed one hotel room. You're both adults. Don't tell me you were playing hide and seek in there. One hotel room. James froze. Roxana didn't care to hear his excuses. In the end, Sophia hadn't even bothered to hold him accountable. As her friend, there was nothing more Roxana wanted to say either. She only wanted to retrieve the pendant. Enough. Just give me the jade. Tell Sophia to come get it herself. James refused to hand it over. Deep down, he felt a creeping premonition. This time, Sophia wasn't just acting out. Like Emma had told him, Sophia truly didn't want him anymore. If he gave that pendant back, he might really lose her. Roxana pressed her lips together. She's not coming. Why not? James didn't believe her. Give me your phone. I'll call her myself. He thought Sophia was just waiting for an excuse. A step down. If he offered her one, they'd reconcile, like every time before. Why don't you call her yourself? Roxana shot back. She blocked me. Forget it. I'll go to her myself. James could no longer hold himself back. An unfamiliar sense of uncertainty gripped him, suspending his heart in midair. Roxana called after him. Sophia isn't at home. Then where is she? At a hotel? James, Roxana sighed. You haven't been home for several days now, have you? Otherwise, you wouldn't think Sophia was still at home, waiting, like on all those countless nights before, for you to come back. A surge of fear crashed violently inside his chest. James lost control and roared. That's none of your business. I'm not trying to meddle. It was the first time Roxana had seen him like this. I just want to remind you, whatever Sophia does to you now, you brought it on yourself. With that, she turned to get into her car. James yanked her back by the arm. Where is she? You still haven't told me where Sophia is. She's not in that house you refused to go back to. That's for sure. Roxana shook him off and drove away. Only after her car disappeared did James snap back to himself. He spun around, bolted upstairs, and snatched his car keys from the entryway. Emma caught hold of him. James, where are you going? Let go! James wrenched his hand free, not even turning back. Stumbling out in such a rush he looked almost frantic. He couldn't even wait for the elevator. He tore down the fire stairs, tripping and falling halfway. But he didn't care. He couldn't care. He jumped into his car, speeding away like a madman. All the way home, he had to confirm, right now, that Sophia was still there, that she was only throwing a tantrum, that she was just waiting for him to come back and coax her. Nothing more. Chapter 12. The moment James burst into the house, instead of finding relief, his heart only tightened further, hanging higher than before. The place was emptier, so clean. It looked like a house waiting for a new owner to move in. Not a trace of life remained. The photo wall Sophia had once loved most, there wasn't a single picture of her left. It felt as if a chunk of his heart had been savagely carved out. Stumbling, he made his way into Sophia's room, only to find it even more desolate than the living room. Not even a strand of her hair, clinging to the last shred of hope. He flung open the closet, then every drawer in the room and bathroom. A chilling realization struck James. He had misunderstood Sophia. She was considerate. So considerate that even when she left, she erased every trace of herself. Panic clawed at him as he staggered back out. Passing the dining room, he finally spotted something she hadn't had time to take away. A trash bin. It was filled with food. And a cake. Slowly, James crouched down, realizing the food inside was all his favorite dishes. He tore open the untouched cake box, and when his eyes landed on the white chocolate plaque, he broke down, clutching his head and sobbing aloud. James, I wish you happiness. Even after he had been such a bastard, Sophia still wished him happiness. But what had he said in their last phone call? He said, Sophia, when did you become so vicious? Your stomach issues are an old problem. Can't you just endure it? Sophia, must you cause trouble when Emma needs me most? The last few times he had called her name, it had been coldly, with her full name. James couldn't remember when he had become like this, nor could he imagine just how disappointed Sophia must have been with him. In truth, he should have realized it long ago. The quietly replaced couple's items around the house, the sudden disappearance of little trinkets, and that couple's watch. James, Emma's timid voice broke the silence. James froze, then looked toward the doorway. Hastily, he wiped at his tear-streaked face. Why are you here? You left so suddenly. I was afraid something might happen to you, so I followed. Emma glanced around the house, her gaze landing on the emptiness. A flicker of secret joy almost broke through her composure. Sophia left? No. James denied it firmly. She's just upset. I'll coax her back. James, honestly, you and Sophia aren't really suited for each other. Breaking up might not be such a bad. Shut up. For the first time, James roared at her. She only misunderstood my relationship with you. I will bring her back. Emma flinched, startled. A second later, her nails dug deep into her palms. She would never allow anyone to stand in her way of marrying James, not even Sophia. But before she could speak, James had already rushed out again. Driving toward Roxana's place, he dialed her number again and again. Roxana didn't pick up, but James called. Relentless. It wasn't until James parked downstairs at Roxana's building that she finally answered his call. Where did she go? James's voice was almost obsessive. I'm downstairs at your place. If you don't tell me, I'll wait here all night. A city. Roxana spoke patiently. Sophia never asked me to hide it from you, because you'd find out sooner or later. But James, since you couldn't be a good boyfriend, at least try to be a decent ex. James's eyes reddened. And what does a decent ex look like? Let her go. Let her start a new life. He froze for a long time before whispering hoarsely. I can't. He couldn't. Sophia, to him, was like iced cola in the summer, a warm scarf in the winter, something that seemed optional, but he had long since grown addicted to her presence. Everything else in life had substitutes, but there was no second Sophia. Every low point in his life, it was Sophia who had stayed by his side. After a long pause, Roxana finally told him, whether you can or not doesn't matter. Sophia, She's getting married. The wedding is next week. Impossible. The words burst from James's mouth. Sophia could never marry someone else. All these years, Sophia had always orbited around him. A wedding took massive preparation. Even if it were seamless, it couldn't happen this quickly. On the other end, Roxana suddenly laughed. James, you know, you never used to be this confident. Before he could reply, she hung up. She didn't want to entangle herself in the cause and effect of other people's relationships. Besides, he had spun this cocoon himself. No one else to blame. James didn't stop to think. He went straight home to pack a bag. Emma hadn't left yet. Seeing him gathering his things, her lips curled faintly. James, you don't need to pack. I can just move in. Your place is more spacious, and the appliances are much better. Sophia had always valued quality of life. After they became financially stable, she had gradually filled the house with new appliances. Most chores no longer required lifting a finger. What are you talking about? James frowned. This is my home with Sophia. If you move in, it'll only make her angrier. By the way, during our last business trip, when you filed the reimbursements, did you forget to include the lodging? Emma's heart lurched. And no, I don't think so. I'll check when I'm back at the office in a couple days. James nodded. Dropping the matter, he finished packing and headed for the door. Before leaving, he looked back at her. Why are you still standing there? Emma nearly exploded with fury, but she swallowed it down. Are you going on another business trip? I'll go with you. Not necessary. Then where are you going? Emma couldn't hold it anymore. You're going to find her, aren't you? James, have you forgotten the promises you made me back then? Did you really fall in love with someone else? Chapter 13. In the few days after I came home, my mom was almost constantly by my side, except when I was asleep. She accompanied me in confirming every wedding detail, big and small. As she put it, a wedding only happens once in a lifetime. It has to be perfect in your eyes. That day, Uncle and Aunt Chan came to the house with Gabriel Chan as well. They brought many valuable gifts. Aunt Chan slid a vivid green jade bracelet onto my wrist, smiling warmly. I can't wait for you to marry in and help me keep an eye on Gabriel. This boy, he goes through life with not an ounce of human warmth on him. Her words made my cheeks heat up. Instinctively, I glanced in Gabriel's direction. As expected, he wore that same detached, unaffected expression. I pressed my palm into my hand nervously, murmuring, Auntie, Mr. Chan, he. The moment that title slipped out, every gaze landed on me, including Mr. Chan himself. Gabriel's expression was unreadable. A trace of a smile, or was it mockery, flickering on his lips. Miss Jean is certainly conscious of her role in this marriage alliance. You brat. Aunt Chan smacked him on the back of the head. Sophia is just shy. If you can't say something nice, then keep your mouth shut. My face burned hotter than ever. I had never felt so embarrassed in my life. Thankfully, not long after, the servants came to announce dinner. In B City, I had to put on an air of ease at dinner tables, smiling and pleasing others. At home, all I had to do was eat seriously. And just like me, Gabriel ate with quiet seriousness. This time back, my mom had noticed my poor stomach. Yesterday, she dragged me to an old Chinese doctor. We got prescriptions and a list of medicinal recipes. So now, before every meal, I had to drink herbal decoctions. After dinner, Aunt Chan and the others drank tea for a while before preparing to leave. Just before getting into the car, she looked back at me. It's still early, Sophia. If you're free, let Gabriel take you out for a walk. Do something you young people enjoy. I hesitated. I'm free. It just depends on whether Mr. Chan. Gabriel has the time. He does. He wouldn't dare not to. With that, Aunt Chan shut the car door. The black Bentley rolled off. Gabriel was left standing in our courtyard. His dark eyes settled on me, lips parting slightly. Go out for a walk? All right. Since he was to be the man I'd spend my future with, it wasn't a bad idea to get familiar sooner. I went back inside to fetch the car keys. Then we drove off together. As the city lights flickered on, a city's nightscape shone brilliantly. The sharp lines of Gabriel's profile softened under the dazzling lights. The air between us grew inexplicably harmonious. Sophia. He suddenly spoke my name after what seemed like careful thought. He continued, "Do you really not remember me?" His cool voice carried a faint undertone of grievance. I braked at a red light, trying to recall. Maybe we met once or twice during New Year or holidays? Then, apologetically, "But my memory's bad. Don't take it to heart." For some reason, Gabriel fell silent. After asking his opinion, I drove us to the town square, a place where locals came to relax after dinner. It was bustling. The voices of children and the elderly rose and fell. In B City's autumn, I rarely experienced this kind of lively warmth. Walking side by side, a small boy barreled toward me. Gabriel pulled me into his arms with one hand and steadied the boy with the other. His fingertips were cold, but his embrace was warm. The boy's mother rushed over, thanking and apologizing repeatedly. "Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Did this little rascal bump into your wife?" My face flushed all over again. Gabriel, however, smiled faintly. "It's fine. He didn't bump into my wife. He was born and raised in a city." Yet his accent wasn't heavy. His voice was clear, each word precise, and pleasant to the ear. When the mother and son had gone, I tilted my head toward him. "Thank you. No longer calling me Mr. Chan? Suit yourself." I hung up the phone, only to see Gabriel suddenly hand me a skewer of candied hawthorn. It used to be my favorite back in middle school. Every day after class, I had to buy a stick and happily nibble on it all the way home. In the years since, I had worked so hard to be an adult that I no longer touched such childish treats, and no one had ever bought them for me again. I thanked him, but before I could take a bite, Gabriel reminded me, "Hawthorn is sour. Your stomach isn't well. Just have a couple bites for the taste. It'll help digestion." I froze for a moment. How do you know my stomach is bad? Even my mom had only found out yesterday. Gabriel's tone was even. "The medicinal food you drink is all for the stomach." I was a little stunned. At dinner last night, he had seemed like he was only eating. I hadn't expected that he would notice even this. I bit into the candied fruit. "You're quite attentive." "Not bad," Gabriel replied without modesty, nodding lightly. I worried he might bring up that phone call just now. Fortunately, all the way until he dropped me off at home that night, he never mentioned it. It wasn't that I was afraid. I just hadn't figured out how to explain. We weren't familiar enough yet. At such a stage, bringing up an ex-boyfriend, no matter how I said it, would feel like planting a landmine in our future marriage. The next morning, for the first time since I returned home, I didn't get to sleep in as I wished. My mom pulled me straight out of bed. "Sweetheart, no more sleeping. Today you must go for your makeup trial. You can't keep putting it off." Chapter 14. Mom. I'm so sleepy. After coming home, my mind relaxed too much, and it was autumn. I could never get enough sleep these days. My mom pulled out her ultimate weapon. "Don't you want to look gorgeous at your wedding? This makeup artist, your Aunt Chan, pulled every string she could to book her. She normally doesn't even have an opening." I do want that. I sobered up a little, dragged myself out of bed, and went to wash up. The trial makeup was far more complicated than I'd imagined. On the wedding day, along with the gown, my mom and Aunt Chan had picked out 6 different dresses for me, which meant 6 complete changes of makeup and styling. No wonder my mom was so determined to drag me out of bed, otherwise it would be impossible to finish everything in a single day. Halfway through, my mom was called away by a phone call from Aunt Chan. Apparently, there was some issue with the wedding favors, and they needed to settle it again together. By the time I finished the trial and stepped out, evening had already fallen. Pulling my coat tighter, I was just about to get into the car when a voice suddenly came from behind me. "Sophia." Too familiar. And yet, inside, I felt nothing at all. If I had to name one feeling, it was resistance. I turned to look at him. It had been not even 10 days. Yet it felt like a lifetime ago. "James, this isn't very fair of you. I had my own life. I couldn't just orbit around him simply because I once had feelings for him. When he didn't want to bother with me, he looked down on me, openly keeping company with someone else. And when I finally decided to leave, he could just beckon me back, expecting me to trot over like a fool. Maybe some people can accept that. But me? I couldn't. James stared at me without blinking, as if afraid I might disappear if he looked away. He cleared his throat. There's a cafe nearby. Let me buy you a coffee? All right. I only wanted to get this over with quickly. After we ordered, he looked at me, as though he couldn't believe it. I heard, you're getting married? Yes. I admitted it calmly. I'm getting married. So, James, whether there was a misunderstanding between us, or whatever your relationship with Emma is, it doesn't matter anymore. He stared at me in shock, his eyes gradually turning red. You're marrying just for the sake of it? I can marry you too. We can get married right now, okay? I remained unmoved. He grew more anxious. And how can you say it doesn't matter? Sophia, we were together for 6 years. 6 whole years. And just like that, you say it's over? At those words, I suddenly laughed. That question, over and over again, it had circled in my mind these past 2 months. Every time, I'd wanted to ask him, James, 6 whole years, how could you treat it like it meant nothing? But now, I didn't even feel the urge to ask, nor did I care about his answer. James blinked in confusion. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at how fake you are. The waiter brought the coffee. I took a sip before speaking calmly. James, we're adults. No matter what you and Emma have going on, you should know better than anyone. You were at least emotionally cheating. You were the one who strayed from this relationship first. You were the one who disrespected those 6 years first. So what right do you have to question me now? I glanced at the pedestrians outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, then turned back to James's face, pale as paper. And besides, don't you remember why you pursued me in the first place? James, even what I once thought was your deep affection, it was only because I resembled someone else. The moment I said this, panic flashed uncontrollably across James's face. Suddenly, he reached out, like a drowning man grasping at the last straw. Sophia, no, I didn't. I admit, at the beginning I had those thoughts, but after being with you, it was different. Sophia, who told you this? I swear I'll beat the bastard to death. I pulled back from his reach, desperate to sever this tie once and for all. My voice cooled a few degrees. James, let me show you something. As I spoke, I briefly took him off my block list and sent him every screenshot Emma had forwarded to me that night. Chapter 15. With every screenshot he looked at, the color drained a little more from his face. Each image was like a slap, landing on him without mercy. He could no longer speak, only his eyes were left, red to an unbearable degree. And yet, I felt no extra emotion at all. Expressionless, I held out my hand to him. Did you bring the jade pendant? Roxana said you refused to give it to her. Then I blocked off his last escape. If you didn't bring it, just send it to me by courier once you're back in City B. Sophia. His voice was hoarse, almost pleading, as he looked at me. Can't you give me another chance? Just one more. James. I blinked. Between people, there is only ever one chance. Only once can trust be given completely. Once that trust is shattered, no matter how you try to piece it back together, all that's left is distance and suspicion. With time, you'll only grow more and more disgusted with each other. That kind of life has never been in my range of choices. James's curled fingertips trembled slightly. After a long silence, he finally handed over the jade pendant. I didn't hesitate. I took it back immediately. In the very instant I took it, it was as if all the strength drained out of him. He slumped onto the sofa, staring blankly at me, my lashes lowered slightly. James, don't contact me anymore. I don't want there to be a rift between me and my husband. Exes, they should disappear, clean and completely. I didn't care how he reacted. Holding the pendant tightly, I strode away without looking back. Today was the first day of winter. The night wind was so cold it seeped into the bones. I pulled my coat tighter. Lifting my head, I spotted a familiar black sedan parked at the entrance. Gabriel was leaning casually against the car. Those bright black eyes of his stared straight at me, as though trying to see right into the depths of my heart. Guilt pricked at me for no reason as I walked toward him. What are you doing here? Passing by. His reply was curt. Then he added, I thought I saw someone who looked like you in the cafe, so I stopped to check. The corner of his lips tugged faintly. Didn't expect it to really be you. I gave a small cough. Before I could explain, he brushed the back of his hand lightly against mine. Then, pulling open the car door, he said, "Get in." Okay. I slipped into the car. The heater washed over me, and warmth returned to my body. But Gabriel didn't get in right away. He glanced toward the cafe, his eyes locking directly with James's. My heart skipped, and I grabbed Gabriel's hand. "It's cold out. You should get in too." His fingers stiffened, as though too tense to move. Then, without lingering to confront James, he bent down and entered the car. Childish. I hadn't even said a word yet when he suddenly threw out a sharp remark. "Your taste in men really isn't that great." There aren't many people who can stab right into someone's lungs with just a single sentence. But the worst part was, he wasn't wrong. I shot back. "If your ex had been good enough, would you be marrying me now?" "I don't have an ex." Huh? I was stunned. I remembered my mom telling me he was the same age as me, almost 30 years old, and never dated anyone? Who would believe that? I muttered under my breath. "Don't brag. Unless you shaved your head and became a monk. Who could go 30 years without ever liking someone?" He said plainly, "I do have someone I like." I replied, "Then we're about the same." He seized on the key words. "You still like him?" "No." I denied it. "It's just that I've had an ex. And you've had someone you liked. That's barely fair, right?" "Not fair." "Why?" The moment I asked, I realized I was still holding his hand. I instinctively tried to pull away, but he clasped it tighter. In a low voice, he said, "It just isn't fair. That's all." "What?" Music was playing in the car, and I wasn't sure I heard clearly. Gabriel's thumb slowly brushed over the back of my hand. "Sophia, have you let go?" I froze for a moment. Then I realized he meant James. I looked at him calmly. "I've let go, but would you mind taking the chance?" I decided to be honest with him. "Gabriel, I was with him for 6 years. If he hadn't crossed my bottom line, the odds are I would have married him." I pressed my lips together lightly. "If that bothers you, we can postpone the wedding. Or, Sophia." Gabriel suddenly cut me off, his face stern. Realizing he might sound too severe, he softened his tone. "Marriage is no game to me. Deciding to marry you was something I thought through carefully. I won't change it lightly. 6 years is just a small part of your life. You're only 30. Sophia, I can have every 6 years of yours from here on. So no, I have no interest in minding someone who's already been discarded." Each word landed hard on my heart. A thought flashed in my mind. If this is what an arranged marriage can be, then I got lucky. After all, in our circles, there are too many couples who are only married in name. Being respectful to each other in private is already considered good. Some don't even bother with that. Each goes their own way. And some play very dirty. Gabriel still hadn't let go of my hand. His deep voice sounded again. "Feeling reassured now?" I was surprised, because I really had been worried he might mind. But never say so. For him to say this outright, it was beyond my expectations. I nodded. I feel reassured." After a pause, Gabriel spoke again. "I heard the company you and he started is preparing to go public?" "Yes." Since he brought it up, I knew what he wanted to ask. I answered seriously, "Gabriel, that's business. And it's business that doesn't involve either the Chan family or the Jean family. I may still hold shares in that company, but you don't need to bend the rules for me. Whether it's your family or you personally, you won't be affected by that little money of mine. As for financing, just handle it by the book." A flicker of amusement crossed his eyes. "What if I take it personally and make it revenge?" I paused, then met his gaze steadily. "I'll be your wife, naturally. I'll support all of your decisions." James had insisted on stirring up trouble in City A right before the wedding. If Gabriel wanted to get even, I had no reason to stop him. Chapter 16. James rushed back to City B overnight. It was almost like fleeing in disgrace. Every single word in those screenshots had left him unable to even lift his head in front of Sophia. As soon as he landed, he went straight to Emma's place. Emma, hearing the commotion, came out of her room half asleep. When she saw James, her face lit up with joy. So James had chosen her over Sophia after all. She wanted to throw herself into his arms, but James suddenly grabbed her by the throat and slammed her down onto the sofa. The nearly fatal suffocation snapped her completely awake. She stared at him in panic, struggling desperately. "James, are you crazy? Are you trying to kill me? Who allowed you to send those screenshots to Sophia?" James roared furiously, his grip unrelenting, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at her. "Now she's misunderstood our relationship. Are you satisfied?" "No, I didn't." Emma racked her brain for an excuse. "It really wasn't me. Wait, I remember. One day, Sister Sophia said you were looking for me, so I went into your office and left my phone outside. Maybe that was when Sister Sophia peeked at my..." "Sophia would never do that." James tightened his grip even more. Emma was furious enough to want to die, but more terrified that he really would strangle her to death. She quickly changed her story. Yes, I must have said it wrong. Maybe Sister Sophia accidentally saw it." "James, I'm sorry. I was careless." James, afraid he had truly lost his mind. Emma broke down and cried hysterically. "Would you really kill me over a misunderstanding? James, do you really have no feelings for me anymore? James, you clearly used to say you wanted to marry me. Now that Sister Sophia is gone, and I've heard she's about to marry someone else, can't we give it a try? You clearly used to like me so much." She wept pitifully. James stared at her, then suddenly asked in a strange tone, "Smile for me." "What?" She didn't understand. James's patience wore thin. His voice was cold and commanding. "I told you to smile. Can't even do that now?" Emma's back went cold under his gaze. Forcing herself, she pulled out a smile uglier than crying. James stared at her for a long time, desperately searching her face for traces of another woman. And in a moment of madness, the words slipped out of his mouth. "Fine, let's give it a try." "Really?" This time, Emma's smile was genuine, straight from her heart. James looked at her with a hint more affection. "Of course it's real." And then, without warning, he reached out and switched off the light. Bathed in the moonlight, he pinned Emma beneath him, unleashing his frenzy. On those business trips, they had almost crossed the line several times already. He knew Emma's body too well. Within moments, he had her trembling with desire. But before, every time, it had been after drinking, and every time, he had stopped himself. He had kept telling himself he hadn't betrayed Sophia. Besides, it was Sophia who was too conservative. Even though they had lived under the same roof, Sophia insisted on saving their first time for after the wedding. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lost control with Emma. Emma's voice broke into fragments. James, don't talk." James clamped his hand over her mouth, cutting off every sound. The moment he thought about how, in just 5 days, Sophia would be doing all those intimate things with the man she had met outside the cafe today, jealousy drove him insane, but he didn't dare to act. The instant his eyes met Gabriel's through the cafe window, he had recognized him. With a single word, Gabriel could decide the course of his entire life. So all James could do was press his fury down. Until now, the next day, they went to the company together. Emma kept her scarf wrapped up to her ears the entire morning, never once taking it off. No one knew just how terrifying James could be. Encounters like last night, if he lost control, could very well cost her life. But in order to marry James, in order to become the glamorous, high-profile wife she had always dreamed of being, a little suffering in bed didn't count for much. Close to the end of the workday, James came out of his office and tapped on her desk. "I'm going to pick up the keys. Are you coming?" "Keys to what?" "The apartment at Violet Court." "Yes, I'll go." Emma shot to her feet in excitement, only for pain to almost force her right back into her chair. James remained indifferent, not even offering her a hand. She clutched the desk to steady herself, taking a long moment before she could catch up with his stride. The Violet Court apartment. It was the dream penthouse she had always coveted. Originally, it had been meant as the marital home for Sophia and James. Now, it would be hers. At that thought, even the pain in her body seemed trivial. When they arrived at Violet Court, James's expression was unreadable, while Emma admired every corner with satisfaction. She couldn't help but marvel inwardly. Sophia really did deserve to be a designer. Her taste was impeccable. Looking at James, she couldn't hold back her impatience. James, when can we move in? I just heard from the renovation team that they used all eco-friendly materials. Maybe we could move in sooner. You've got it wrong. James gave a cold laugh. This is Sophia's wedding gift. Chapter 17. Emma couldn't believe it. She's about to marry someone else. And you're giving her something this valuable? Do you know what this place is worth on the market right now? She deserves it. James tossed out those words and walked away. Emma hurried after him. Where are you going? I have an appointment. Go home by yourself. Emma was left behind, and with her body aching, there was no way she could catch up. In the end, she could only take a cab home on her own, but unlike Sophia, she didn't have the patience to wait. By 9 o'clock, she was already calling James again and again. James didn't answer, so she kept calling, kept flooding him with messages. Sophia might be easy to fool, but she wasn't. Men, if you didn't keep an eye on them, who knew which woman they would end up with? She really couldn't understand what kind of spell Sophia had put on him. It wasn't like he had ever seemed so devoted to her before, and now he was acting like he was madly in love. It wasn't until 2 in the morning that her phone finally rang, but the voice on the other end wasn't James's. It was one of his buddies. Emma. James drank too much. He keeps saying he wants to go home, but he won't let any of us take him. He insists you come pick him up. So, could you come? At that, Emma's lips curved into a smile. All right, send me the location. I'll be there right away. See? Deep down, she was still the one he cared about. He'd only lashed out because she'd sent those screenshots to Sophia. She'd thought about it carefully at the office today. It really had been careless of her. She shouldn't have left Sophia with any proof. When she arrived at the bar, James was still clutching a bottle, refusing to let go. An entire bottle of liquor, straight down his throat. For someone with such a weak tolerance, there was no way he wouldn't be drunk. The guys in the private room visibly relaxed when she showed up. Please, take him home. If he keeps drinking, we'll have to call an ambulance. Okay, I'll take him home now. Emma nodded quickly. Help me get him up. She went to James's side, giving him a gentle push. James, let's go home, all right? James murmured lowly. Home. I want to go home. Have her take me home. At that, Emma smiled. Isn't that why I'm here? I'm taking you home right now. With the help of one of James's friends, she tried to lift him. At first, James seemed to go along, but when he cracked his eyes open through the haze of alcohol, he suddenly shoved her hand away. Why is it you? Where's Sophia? I want Sophia. Emma froze in humiliation, forcing her face to stay calm. She said, James, you two already broke up. I know you're upset, but it's late. Let's just go home, okay? Home? James collapsed back onto the sofa, his voice cold. What kind of home could I possibly have with you? Emma, don't think I don't know what you've done. The atmosphere in the room instantly turned icy. Emma stiffened all over. And what exactly did I do? James might have been drunk, but in that moment, he was painfully clear-headed, as if these words had been burning in his chest for far too long. Sophia left because of you. James narrowed his eyes at her, cold as steel. I can't confirm it with Sophia now, but I know her better than anyone. She'd never be the one. Those screenshots, you sent them. You believe her now? Humiliated in front of everyone, Emma finally snapped, her fury boiling over. When I said the paint outside your house was her doing, didn't you believe me then? James, this pathetic, hypocritical act, who are you trying to fool? Sophia's not here to see it. She would only feel disgust. And that's because of you. James's glare burned into her. I went to the finance department today. On those business trips, you never once filed the expenses for your room. Once. Maybe it was a mistake. Twice. 3 times? You really expect me to believe it was just an oversight? You wanted Sophia to misunderstand our relationship. Misunderstand? Emma laughed bitterly. James, who was it that kept bringing me along on those trips? Who was it that almost crossed the line every single time? Her words left everyone in the room stunned. The subject was far too explicit. James's friends didn't know whether to leave or stay, caught awkwardly in between. He hadn't expected her to run her mouth so recklessly. spilling everything like some vulgar street shrew. The alcohol fog lifted a little, and then Emma pressed on. James, don't pretend you're innocent. Didn't you think about betraying her yourself? The night before she left, she called you to come home, and you ignored her. Sophia is wonderful, but a man like you, only someone like me is fit for you. James, I may be rotten, but you're no better. Chapter 18. If it were anyone else, they might constantly slander Sophia, but Emma wouldn't. She knew James too well. What she wanted was to keep driving the name Sophia deeper into his heart like a thorn, again and again, to make James live the rest of his life in regret. Only then would he have no energy left to chase after one woman after another. Only then could she get everything she wanted. 2 days before Sophia's wedding, Roxana requested personal leave and flew straight to City A. James was the one who signed her leave slip. He stared at the reason written there for a very long time. To attend a friend's wedding out of town. Originally, that leave slip should have been used for his and Sophia's wedding. But now, the woman he had spent 6 years of his life with would be standing beside another man tomorrow. James pushed himself up from the desk and walked step by step toward the design department. The department had a new director, but Sophia's office had remained empty. She had cleared out her home, but here at the office, traces of her still lingered. She had liked using aroma stones in her office. Even now, a faint scent remained, the same scent that had always clung to her. President James, the marketing director, knocked hesitantly before stepping inside. Before, you asked me to get the wedding invitation of Blue Sky Investments. Had I managed to get it? The wedding is this Sunday. Do you? Everyone in the company knew about his relationship with Sophia. No one had ever imagined they would break up, and in such a disgraceful way. James wiped a hand over his face, hiding his emotions. Put it on the desk. Yes. The marketing director quickly set down the invitation and hurried out, afraid of provoking his anger. Only after the door closed did James slowly pick up the invitation and open it. Sophia. Gabriel. 2 simple, neatly aligned names, like the sharpest blades, stabbing deep into him. Even breathing became difficult. Every word Emma had said last night echoed in his mind. He couldn't deny it. It was him, James, who wasn't worthy of Sophia, not worthy of the woman who had once stood by him through his hardest years. In the end, he had broken his own promise, failed her, but still, he would make sure no one else could fully have what should have been hers. If he was already rotten, then he might as well rot all the way. The day before the wedding, the Jean family estate was filled with laughter and cheer. Smiles lit up everyone's faces. Servants bustled in and out, decorating the courtyard and the grand hall. Anyone who came could tell immediately our family had a joyous event at hand. My room was even livelier. My college roommates and Roxana had landed in City A the night before and stayed in the hotel we'd arranged. Early this morning, the driver picked them up to come have breakfast. After we ate, everyone started helping decorate the bridal room. The atmosphere was as festive as could be. While blowing up balloons, Roxana glanced at me, relief in her eyes. Seeing you so happy puts my heart at ease. What's there for me to be unhappy about? I smiled. Gabriel was a good man. Life with him should be good. Aunt Chan and Uncle Chan treated me very well, too. There wouldn't be any troublesome in-law drama. I could see it clearly, after marriage. I would live comfortably. Only, feelings would take some time to grow, and that wasn't something to rush. I was just talking with Roxana when my mom came in, bringing along one of my high school classmates. I was pleasantly surprised. Nicole, I thought you wouldn't come until tomorrow. What? Not happy to see me? Nicole walked in with a bright smile. Of course I had to come today. I wanted to see you one last time before you get married. Take some pictures, and keep them as memories. Back in high school, she had been my best friend. Even after I moved to City B for so many years, we still kept in touch often. I sighed a little. Seeing you here makes me realize I'm really not that young anymore. After all, it had been more than 10 years since high school. Nicole chuckled. Being older has its perks too. If we were still teenagers, could you really just up and get married? That's sophistry. I shot her a playful glare. She sat down beside me, her tone turning thoughtful. Still, I honestly never imagined Gabriel would actually end up with you. At that, I instinctively asked, "What do you mean?" Gabriel's liked you for so many years. Don't tell me you didn't know. What? I stared at her, completely baffled. If not for this arranged marriage, Gabriel hardly even existed in my memory. Nicole looked shocked. You really didn't know? That Gabriel, he's good at hiding it. I pressed her for more. She realized I was genuinely clueless, hesitated for a moment, torn over whether to betray Gabriel's secret. But in the end, she couldn't hold it back. And so she told me everything, without leaving anything out. Gabriel and I were college classmates. Somehow he found out that you and I went to high school together, so he would occasionally ask me about you. But once he knew you had a boyfriend, he went quiet. Then just recently, at a college reunion, he asked me how you were doing, if you were about to get married. My heart thudded wildly in my chest. And what did you say? Oh, well, Nicole gave me a sheepish look, like someone awaiting punishment. I'd had a couple drinks, and I accidentally let it slip, the time you called me complaining about James and that little childhood sweetheart of his. I told him the chances of you two marrying were slim, that Sophia was blind to have picked a scumbag. Chapter 19. I caught the key point. When was your college reunion? Earlier this month. I think it was on the 6th. Grandpa had proposed the marriage alliance with the Chan family on the 8th. The timing, one right after the other, was too much of a coincidence. Seeing me dazed, Nicole nudged my arm. What's wrong? Where'd your mind wander off to? Nicole, are you saying? I could hardly believe it. Gabriel liked me all along, and that's why he kept asking you about me? Of course. What? You think he was crazy? All day long, my heart wouldn't stop racing. I kept recalling what Gabriel had calmly admitted in the car a few days ago, that there was someone he liked. Inside me, emotions surged stronger and stronger. Surprise, confusion, uncertainty, and a trace of something else, relief. Relief that my future husband liked me so very, very much, even past midnight. I lay tossing and turning in bed. Then a message popped up on my phone. Gabriel, can't sleep? I shot upright and typed rapidly. How did you know? It's the middle of the night, and your WeChat step counter keeps going up every few minutes. Must be you on your phone. Gabriel, afraid I'd misunderstood what Nicole said. I asked cautiously, how did we actually meet before? The Chan and Jean families had been old family friends, but I'd asked my mom these past 2 days, and she told me their closeness was way back in my great-grandfather's time. By our generation, ties had faded. At most, during holidays, each family would just send a representative with some gifts. Gabriel and I shouldn't have met before. The chat window showed, the other person is typing, but no new message came through. After a while, even the typing indicator disappeared, leaving only the word Gabriel. Had he fallen asleep? I was about to put my phone down when suddenly his voice call request popped up. My heart trembled as I accepted. Before I could speak, his low, steady voice came through. Sophia, don't say anything yet. On the other end, silence stretched again, so long that, if not for his steady breathing, I would have thought he'd really fallen asleep. Maybe it was because I was on the phone with him, but gradually, my heart calmed. Sleepiness finally came over me, just as I laid my head on the pillow. His voice came softly. First year of junior high. First semester. At the school gate, you gave me a candied hawthorn. Sleepiness vanished. I rummaged through old fragments of memory. The impression was faint. That time, I'd quarreled with my grandfather. He left me at the school gate. He gave a short, quiet laugh. You passed by, thought I was upset, and reluctantly handed me the candied hawthorn you were eating. Do you remember now? Ah. With that reminder, the memory flooded back. The scene flashed in my mind, and I couldn't help laughing. Reluctantly? It was just a candied hawthorn. You make it sound like I was stingy. No, you weren't stingy. You were the most generous. His voice lowered gently. The air between us turned warm, intimate. My heart pounded, about to leap out of my chest. He remained steady, measured. It's late. Get some sleep, Sophia. Tomorrow, wait for me to come get you. All right, see you tomorrow. I held the phone, noticing he was waiting for me to hang up first. I couldn't help but laugh. Gabriel sighed helplessly. Still not ready to sleep? Sleeping, right now. I lay back down, pulled up the blanket, and after a long moment gathering my courage, I said seriously, Gabriel, I heard you've liked me for years. Thank you for liking me all this time.